Welcome back, you guys. This is Tassie, and this is one of my ghostly updates and vlogs. So this vlog, it's going to be about what it was like in the spirit world. And a lot of you guys have been asking me, like, to go into detail about what it's like, what do you see, what do you experience. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about my very first time doing it and what it was like when I transitioned into becoming a shaman. So the very first time when I went to go do it, I was like very bratty and not accepting of it at all, you guys. So some people might be like, yeah, I'm finally going to see if I'm going to become a shaman, if this is going to be my teacher, I'm going to shake. They get really excited. But for me, I was literally the person who was like dragging her feet because I didn't believe in it. I believed in it to a point, but there's that stigma that there's like a lot of bad shamans, there's a lot of fake shamans. So because I didn't know anything about it, I was really hesitant, and I had no expectations. And when I went to go see if somebody was gonna be my teacher, I didn't know the details of what you would experience. People, whenever I ask people, like, oh, like, what should I expect, if I'm going to this teacher? These were people who weren't shamans. So these were literally just, I didn't know any shamans until I actually became a shaman myself. And then I started to meet a lot of shamans. So they were just kind of like giving me what they've heard from another person. And what they always say is just that, like dala osa, which basically means like ghosts or spirits will come and do it for you. So like the shaman, so I saw it as the shaman is just a vessel, and then like you become possessed. And then you get all this knowledge because it's a ghost telling you. It's kind of like what it exactly is, kind of what I said, but it's not as extreme or as bad as you might think it to be. So going into it, I was just kind of like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm really about to do this. Like that was my attitude. I was not excited about it. I was like kind of embarrassed about it. I just couldn't believe I was doing it. So my teacher, she actually gave me a cap, and she's wearing one too. And remember, the caps can be red, black, or white. And some shamans, they wear multiple colors. So what happens is you go up to your potential teacher's shrine, and they all have their own kind of rituals. Some people will throw like little cooked rice grains around them. Some people will throw water on themselves. I don't know. And you use like a little chant or something. It's really up to you. And then after that, they'll have you sit on their bench, and their bench is sitting right in front of their shrine. And I remember I went to go sit down. Oh, and everybody in the room is like watching you. And I'm just like, oh my God, don't make me do this. So I'm kind of like, I almost started laughing, like just bust out laughing. But then everybody took it really seriously what I was about to do. So I was kind of like, I guess I shouldn't laugh here. And I remember she was like, okay, put your cap down, which we call tiho. And so I like put it down. And then all of a sudden I flipped it up, and I'm like, are my eyes supposed to be open or closed? And she looks at me like, who asks these things? And she said to me, well, you need to do whatever the spirits tell you to do. So if your spirits open your eyes, they open your eyes. If they close your eyes, they close your eyes. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I put the cap back down, and then my eyes actually naturally closed. All right. So, but I guess you could leave them open. But it's like when it first started, like my eyes were like open, and like the cap is like right in front of you. So all I could see was through the red cloth. And then I remember her husband went behind me, and he was hitting a gong. And then what happened next was so insane. So imagine somebody like covering your arm. Like, right? So like I was just sitting there, nothing really. And then he hit the gong, and as soon as he hit the gong, I felt something go over my arms, and then I started shaking, you guys. It is the weirdest thing. Like, you do not shake him. Like, if you try to shake it, what happens is you go out of the rhythm that the spirits are trying to do for you. So then you get all kind of crazy, like your hands aren't going right, but they should be in unison. And I know some shamans, Like some shaman teachers, if you are having trouble going, they'll tell you to try and force it. Try to force it and try to help the spirits, because maybe the spirits aren't strong enough to raise your arm or your leg. Now, I don't believe in forcing it, only because you're going to become really exhausted because it's not the spirits doing it for you. And I just don't believe in that. But I know for some people, if what they would say is like, you know, if your arm or leg is heavy and it's heavy for the spirits to lift it, it's not because you're fat. Okay, don't think it's because like you're overweight or something and the spirits can't lift it. It's not like that. So what it is, it's your teacher would be able to do something to make your leg and arm not as heavy, and then they'll try it again. But if it still doesn't work, then it could be that you're not going to shake for that teacher. So I remember I felt it cover my arms, and then I started shaking. And what happens after that, so like for my lineage of shamans, we only hit the gong a couple of times before you take off. And then once you take off, they stop hitting the gong. Some lineages will keep hitting like a little black one for the entire time, for a very long time, until you reach a certain point in the shaman world, and then they'll actually, spirit world, and then they'll actually stop hitting the gong for you. So there are different lineages who do different things. Now, I remember I was going, and then my teacher kept yelling at me, or she wasn't my teacher yet, but she kept saying to me, if you hear a voice or if they tell you to do something, just make sure you do it. Don't ignore them, right? So I'm like, okay. And I don't see anything yet at this point. Everything is still black. I'm still very, very aware of everybody around me watching me, and they're all kind of whispering and talking. And then all of a sudden, I was like sitting there, and I was going for a really long time, and then I started to kind of get like irritated because my teacher kept yelling at me, like, you know, like, how come you guys aren't doing anything? How come you're not saying anything? And I'm sitting there like, I'm not gonna say nothing. So I said to myself, like, you know, if you guys are really here, and I was like trying to talk to my spirit guides, but I didn't really know if I was talking to them, if they could hear me. So I was literally like, if you guys are really here, you need to force me, because I'm not going to do nothing unless you force me and you make it really clear what I'm supposed to do, or else I'm not going to do anything. And as soon as I said that, I felt this heat like hit me from my back, the center of my back. This heat was super strong where it was getting really, really hot. And it was just in that area. It was like a circle. And then all of a sudden I felt myself, and I didn't even know I was doing it. So this is how far you're like into this trance where you don't even notice it. So what happened was all of a sudden my lungs were hurting. And then like I started paying attention, and I realized I keep taking this huge breath. And I'm like, why do I keep breathing? Why do I keep breathing? But imagine like you keep inhaling but like you don't know what to do with all that air. So like my lungs and everything was really hurting because I kept doing that. And then I thought, like, am I getting tired from shaking? Like, you know, like when you go running or something, you're exercising, and you're all of a sudden not having enough air in you. And then like all of a sudden I dineng. And in the shaman world, or for Hmong people, whenever we say dineng, that's when you go and then bam, you're up. Like that's what we call dineng. But then they kept making me take in deep breaths of air because they wanted me to get up and dineng. So I literally did that, and then I shot up. I was no longer sitting. Now I'm standing, and I'm jumping everywhere. So I was actually supposed to be the shaman who, there's a type of lineage where they have like a thin board for their bench, and it's actually kind of bendable, because what the shaman does is the shaman jumps on top of it, and they're constantly jumping. So my teacher made it so that I was not the jumpers, because it's what they call it improper if you're a woman and you do it. Because if like I was married or something and you have like all these uncles holding you around your waist, it's really improper for a woman. So they only allow men to do that in the Hmong community. So then she had to do it so that I wouldn't be the jumper type. And then so then like, but I was jumping and jumping and jumping and going. And then one of the other aunties who was just observing, she actually came over and grabbed my waist so that I wouldn't like hit something. And then all of a sudden I started seeing like, it looked like it's like a film that started playing like with your eyes closed, but it's like a movie playing in front of you, but you don't know like what it's doing. So literally, I started to see like all these brushes. Like I'm in a jungle or in a forest and I'm going really, really fast. So I just keep seeing it like passing by me like crazy. And then all of a sudden I come out to a clearing. And in the distance, I see an actual mountain. And I'm like, okay. So like I don't really know like what they're trying to do or what's really going on. They just keep showing me things. So then I see this mountain and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm like right in front of the mountain. And I'm like, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden I go back again and I'm at the exact same spot looking at the same mountain. And then they keep doing that. I keep going up close to the mountain and far away again. And I'm like, I started getting frustrated and I'm like, what the hell? And this is all being said in my head, you guys. And I'm saying this in English, perfect English. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, why do you guys keep doing this to me? So as soon as I said that, I literally saw a cartoon image of the mountain I was looking at and a cartoon image of me going up the mountain. When I saw that, I was like, oh, you want me to go up the mountain? So then literally I go up, I literally go up to the mountain and then I look up and then boom, I shoot up to the top of the mountain. I'm that slow, you guys. So anyways, they take me to the top of this mountain and then all of a sudden I see these two Chinese looking women and they're sitting around this body of water. It's very beautiful water and they keep looking at me and then they keep diving into the water. And then they come back up and they keep looking at me. And I'm like, I'm just standing there like, what are you guys doing? You know, like, why do you keep doing this? And so they keep looking at me and going in and out of the water and just staring at me. And then it finally dawned on me, oh, they want me to go and follow them into the water. So they took me into the water. And like a lot of times in the shaman world, we do these things where we have to clean ourselves because we're really dirty. And that was my first time entering the spirit world, like on a bench and everything in the proper way. So then they needed to clean me so that I would be clean. Now, after that, it was really, really weird because all of a sudden, because like everybody else who's watching me, they don't know all this stuff that's happening because I'm not saying anything out loud. You know, like I'm just shaking, I'm just going. And then all of a sudden in the distance, it sounded like it was far away, but I heard like a sing-song kind of a voice. And I'm like, what is that? And I keep like listening because I'm like, because it just sounds like someone's like saying stuff. And I'm like, is somebody out in the room like talking? And and that's what I'm hearing. And then all of a sudden my teacher, she yells at me, if you hear a voice, you need to repeat whatever it says. And I'm like, shit, because I'm like, I don't know what it's saying. So it's just like, imagine like how you guys can hear my voice right now and you're supposed to just automatically start saying everything I'm saying and you're supposed to just know exactly what I'm about to say next. So I was like, oh man, because you know, like when I saw shamans, these were already full-fledged shamans. They were masters of their own, they were teachers, and I've never seen a shaman struggle or go through it. So I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, these aren't real words. Like, they weren't even Hmong words. I was like, if I start saying them, it's not going to be real words. Like, they're going to think I'm crazy. So then finally, I'm like, really, really begrudgingly, like, oh my God, I'm going to repeat these words. So I literally start saying exactly what I hear. And I'm not really pronouncing the word correctly because I've never heard of the word before. So literally, I'm like saying the words, and then all of a sudden that voice gets louder, and then I can hear it better. And then I'm repeating it again, and then all of a sudden the voice disappears, and it just comes right out of me. Like all of a sudden, it's kind of like so when a shaman, what we call hungo, that's what we actually call it. And go is actually a bird. It's supposed to be signified as a bird, and the bird comes and gives you the verses, and you're supposed to know the verses. So what happened was I heard the sing-songing voice, and I kept saying it, and then as soon as you catch it, and you actually start saying it, and then it will actually just come right out of you. So then it's no longer you hearing a voice and you repeating it from them. It will come out naturally, as if you're talking and you know exactly what you're about to say next. It's just like that when you enter the spirit world and you start to hungo. So I started to hungo. That's exactly how it was for me. And it was, I think for a lot of people, it seemed like it was really easy, but I had my self doubt and I was like, oh my God, because everything was like, I don't want to do this. Everything was like really embarrassing for me. I didn't want to do it. Because I didn't know if I was doing it right. And you just have a lot of self doubt, So after that experience, like you basically all of a sudden when your coding are done showing you around and trying to get you started and everything, they will release you and you come back, right? So then I stopped shaking and then I lifted my cap and I was like, oh my God, what the heck just happened? And I remember for like a whole week after that, I just like kept staring at things because I was like, oh my God, it's real. It's freaking real. That's my experience. I was like, you know, it was just a really big eye opener for me because it was real and I wasn't expecting that. Now, what also happens whenever I go into the spirit world, you will see and meet a lot of other spirits and entities out there because they're not just always going to be like a good helpful spirit that's going to show you the way. No, there are a lot of demons and ghosts in the spirit world too. So a lot of times, like when I was a fledgling shaman still, and I hadn't reached my final level yet, whenever I enter the spirit world, I would be greeted or my spirit guides would take me to meet somebody. So I would always go and meet what we would call a god. So he would always, or she would always teach me what I was supposed to know, and they would show me a lot of things. And even though it didn't make sense when I went into the spirit world, because they would show me these books, you guys, they would always show me these books, and I'm like, okay, because I don't know what's in the book. So basically, all of like the knowledge that they were teaching me, even though when I was doing it, I had no idea what they were doing to me. I couldn't read the books. I didn't know what it was. It was basically knowledge in advance. And so what happened was when people came to me to look for an illness or to look into their future and stuff like that, they had already previously given me that knowledge. And like you go to sleep, you don't really think about it, but then all of a sudden all this knowledge just comes to you and you just know it. And it's because during that time they had shown it to me and they were giving it to me so I could understand it. Even though in that exact moment I didn't understand it, it came later. Like you just know, So now, definitely, I think I have a really nonchalant attitude when it comes to the spirit world because I'm kind of like, if you don't make it clear what you are trying to get me to do, I'm not going to do it. Basically, that's how I am. So they have to make it very, very clear for me or else I don't do nothing and I don't care. I don't care to do nothing. It's kind of like, it's like if your spirit guides really want you to go and like clean yourself or to get rid of this ghost that's bothering you, if they really wanted you to do it, they would make you do it. But so that's kind of my attitude when it comes to it. And they would always come. They would always show exactly what I should do, what everything, all the steps and everything. So I think a lot of people, they thought that I had such an easy journey and so they just expected the same thing for themselves. But it's really hard for me to kind of explain it for somebody who's struggling a lot because I didn't struggle in that aspect because everything was very visual, very loud and voices. So I could clearly see and know my path. Now, as far as just like, what does it really just look like? So, I mentioned you'll run into people. Now, what I want to mention here though, because I didn't know this, my teacher actually told me. She said that even when she goes into the spirit world, she can't see their faces. So this goes into with what level you are in the spirit world. If you are a really high level, you will see everything. Like for me, because she was really amazed that I could see their faces of the spirits and the zongdus that I actually run into in the spirit world. It's basically, I can see all the way to the very detail of their clothes, like the embroidery, the threading. I could see what tools they have on them, if they have any jewelry on them. I could see to the detail as if I'm touching it right in front of me. So that's what it looks like for me. Now, I do want to let you guys know, I am very strongly biased with Chinese. So a lot of the new age shamans will know this, but a lot of shamans these days, you have spirit guides, and I have spirit guides who are Hmong. But the reason why I struggle with the Hmong language so much is because my spirit guides, they are Chinese. Most of them are Chinese. I do have some that are Hmong, but the majority of them are Chinese. So they make me speak Chinese a lot. And whenever they speak it to me, I understand what they're saying. It's kind of like they explain it to me, what they're saying, and I understand it, but I can speak it so naturally and so easy. But when it comes to speaking Hmong, I struggle like crazy. And only if my spirit guides tell me the word in Hmong am I really good at pronouncing it. Or else I'll say it and then I'll try to say it again, trying to get the tone right. But then that's why I struggle so much when it comes to Hmong. And Hmong people, we are originally from China. So a lot of my spirit guides, they are just Shuo, which is Chinese. And so a lot of times if I'm struggling too hard with the word in Hmong, then I'll just speak it in Chinese because it's so much easier. It's like speaking English. It's like a lot easier. But just so you guys know, a lot of times if a shaman is speaking in a different language, it is because they could be trying to hide the information. Or other people aren't supposed to know about it. So a lot of times they do speak in a different language because of that. And my teacher, she tried to make me mostly only speak Hmong because she needed it to be easier for those on the outside to understand me. But my spirit guides knew when they wanted somebody from the outside to do something for me. Because when you are a shaman and you're going to the spirit world, sometimes there will be points where you need to like burn Joss money, like the Asian money that we burn for spirits. So there are certain points where you'll reach there where you need to burn this or for them to do that. And these are people from the outside. And so that's why they really wanted to saw that I would be able to speak more Hmong because that was important. But my spirit guides were like, we'll tell you if we need it. So yes. As far as like the places, all right, so the places are going to be very, very different. It depends on where they're taking you to. So if you go to a very dark and dirty place, it's going to be dark and dirty. If you go to a very nice place, it's going to be nice, so it just really depends. But again, one thing I do want to say too, though, is sometimes a demon will try to appear as something else. Okay. So one time I was going into the spirit world, and as soon as typically the beginning of a shaman going into the spirit world, we do this thing where we call all of our spirit guides to come with us, right? And as soon as I was done calling all of my spirit guides, they're taking me into the spirit world and I'm off to go somewhere. And then all of a sudden I look behind me, like not in real life, but in the spirit world, I look behind me and there's like this huge spider chasing me. This spider is like super huge, just like as big as many, many buildings, right? And I'm like, whatever, that spider is not really there. I just keep going. I'm like, because I don't want to have to kill a spider, okay? He's not a spider, okay? It was a demon showing itself as a spider to scare me because I'm afraid of spiders, right? I don't have like a phobia of spiders, but I think anybody would be kind of scared if they see a big hairy spider chasing them. So this guy is literally chasing me, and I'm like, I look back again, and I'm like, oh my God, he's really there. He's still chasing me. And then so I finally have to stop, and then I have to kill him, and it's just really annoying, you guys. Based off of what I've heard from other people, some people who are not as clairvoyant, where they don't always see things, what happens is sometimes they'll get a feeling. And I remember this other shaman was explaining to me how when they go, sometimes they'll feel like they don't really know what they're supposed to do because they don't hear the voice. They aren't really able to what we would call hungo, which is the chants. Sometimes they'll get a feeling of what they're supposed to say, but then they kind of stop chanting and they just ride in silence a lot. And I remember this shaman was telling me that it felt like they were on top of a mountain, and it was beautiful. But she kept telling me that it was just a feeling. She couldn't actually see it. So I know that some people, they can't actually see the spirit world, but when they go in there, they always have a feeling and they know what's there and what's happening. So I have not spoken to a lot of, well, like one grandpa, he was really into, he was more of like Zhao Zizheng, and Zizheng is basically the type that is just demon killers, right? So, we have like Teng Sha and Ning Shao, and then we have like Zizheng, and Zizheng is more of just the demon killers. Teng Sha and Ning Shao, that is going to be more of like Shai, like the New Age where you have the clairvoyance, right? So this grandfather, he was really more of just like the old school type, the old age. Um, and he was telling me that it's like he said that it's like he doesn't hear a voice, and I was really curious, like, how does he experience it? And he was talking to me in Hmong, and he was like, it's just a feeling. They come in, they just tell you, and then I think a lot of it had to do with him being around a lot of shamans growing up and like watching like his father and stuff. So he had already had this previous knowledge and a previous chance, because I know some shaman lineages, what they do is they actually teach the students the exact chants, and they record a lot. They record a lot of the chants and everything, so that way you can take it home and listen to it and try to repeat it, because all of these chants, they are basically just spells, basically. And so for the shamans who hear the voices, though, or are able to create their own spells, it's very different, because we don't record and we don't listen in on, we don't try to remember what someone calls a zonglu, because so a lot of people will call the same God a different name, right? Because your spirit guides will teach it to you differently. And I think a lot of that has to do with your levels. Because of the different levels, you will reference or call a certain mountain or place by a different name. And especially because I'm so Chinese, we tend to call ours more along a Chinese name versus what a Hmong person who's their huning is mostly just Hmong, what they would call and reference that God or that place. So, I think a lot of that has to do with it too. And so that's why a lot of it may seem different for everybody, because you will all have your own version of it, basically. And if you ever have somebody who is similar to your style, especially if they're really Chinese based as well, then the names may sound more similar because of that. And even if you were sitting here and listening in, and I'm talking to a god for something, and you try to go into the spirit world and try to go and find that god or call them to you as well, it won't always work, because you'll forget the name, because that's not the name you were meant to remember. And that's why. All right. So that's basically kind of what it's like going into the spirit world. For me, anyways, like I'm heavily forced into things to do it, because I won't do anything unless I am forced. So that's pretty much it. But I would love to hear your guys' take on what you guys experience going into the spirit world, because every shaman's going to be different. Some people are going to be like me, where I'm like, I just sit here and I'm not going to do nothing until you make me do it. I'm really lazy, you guys. I make them do all the work. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. Until next time.